The year is coming to an end and it's been a good year, but I'm currently on a mission to turn the coming year into my best year yet. Now, of course, there are parts of our lives that we cannot always control, but simply my best year when it comes to the self-love and the happiness and the joy that I'm looking to create for myself. And I hope you all are with me on that one. Let's turn the coming year into an amazing year for all of us. So how do we go about this? There are so many different approaches when it comes to New Year's resolutions and how to go into a new year, from apps that people use to exercises to affirmations to, so many different things. But for me personally, I was thinking about this and I realized I am really looking to create a healthy mindset within the topics of mind, body, and soul, because I feel when I have these three areas covered, I feel confident, I feel confident, I feel balanced, I feel strong, and I feel ready to take on anything really, but especially a new year. And so for today, I wanted to share some thoughts and reminders that I want to remind myself of within each of these topics. And yeah, hopefully that resonates with you as well. Also, I've been sick the last days, which is why I haven't been able to record or upload this episode earlier. I tried to record it a couple of days ago, and then midway, I just entirely lost my voice because I was so sick. And so bear with me on this one. I hope that we're going to get through this without me losing my voice again or without me having to cough 1,000 times. And so let's hope that we get through this. Chapter 1. The mind. Now, the biggest thing I feel I had to learn this year was how to take care of my mental well-being and of my mind. And the one thing that I really learned, and this is very much something that I'm looking to take into the coming year as well, and it is that if it costs you your peace, it's too expensive. Meaning I am willing to let go of controlling circumstances and people and thoughts of others and fears in the pursuit of following and prioritizing my own happiness and my own dreams. And I'm looking to make no exceptions when it comes to that. This might sound a little bit pessimistic, but I have found that most of the world is not really structured in a way that it will easily support your dreams and your happiness, and you can just sit back and let that happen. I feel most of the world is actually structured to do the opposite, really. And so if we are not clear on where we are going, it's really easy to get sucked into things such as negativity or confusion or self-doubt or fears or things like that. And so it's up to us to decide if we want to get dragged the other way by all of that, or if we want to go where we want to go. And the question is, are you making that choice for yourself? And if yes, how far are you willing to go to make that happen? And so, for example, you might get invited by your friends or let's say by some people to go out that evening, and you generally just don't feel good around these people at all. And so you decide to cancel because you don't want to put yourself in an environment where you don't feel good. You want to choose yourself first. But as a consequence, you might feel lonely or alone that evening because you are by yourself instead of going out with these people. And that might be hard, but in that loneliness, you are choosing yourself because you are saying, I would rather go through this than be in an environment where I am not protecting my peace. Or you might find out that someone has told another person information about you that is not true, and they are talking badly about you behind your back, and you find that out, and then you decide to just let it go and not try to control someone who doesn't have your best intentions at heart, because you know if you go and you approach that person, you're going to put yourself in a position where it's going to be unhealthy for you. And so you say, you know what, I'm just going to let that go. I don't care. And as a consequence of that, you might feel fear of judgment, fear of people actually believing what that person is saying. That might not be easy, but in that fear, you are choosing yourself. You are choosing to protect your peace. And so that's why I think protecting your peace is really not always the easier choice to make, but it is worth it every single time we make that choice. I personally find it much easier to be in this I'm going to protect my peace and choose myself first kind of vibe when it comes to decisions such as, okay, I'm going to wake up today and then I'm going to meditate, and then I'm going to journal, and then I'm going to go for a walk in nature, and then I'm going to do something nice for myself. Like, that's an easier choice to make when the other option is to just sit around and do nothing. And those choices are still valuable, of course. But the question is, in the moments where choosing ourselves might not be the easier or more comfortable choice to take, are we still willing to take it? And if yes, how far are we willing to go to actually make that happen? How much am I willing to just let go? How many consequences am I willing to deal with? How much discomfort am I willing to go through to make that choice? Because even though the choice is not always an easy one to make, I think it pays off every single time. Because when you choose yourself and you choose to protect your peace, you are not only choosing your peace, you are choosing your happiness, you are choosing your joy, you are choosing your physical health, you're choosing your mental health, you're choosing your future, you're choosing your creativity, you are choosing your life. And I think that is a choice that pays off every single time. And I think a good way to figure out which kind of difficult emotions and difficult situations are worth going through in life is to ask yourself, where do I want to go and who do I want to be? So what kind of life am I looking to create for myself? And what kind of person do I want to be in that life? And then everything that interferes with that, everything that takes you away from that, has to go. And that has to just become a choice you make, and then you deal with the consequences that come from that. And that's a price worth paying. So people might judge, people might not understand, people might talk. You might have to go through fears and doubts and loneliness, or even loss of different things. It might not be easy, but all of those things should be what we are willing to go through, because paying with where we want to go, paying with ourselves, paying with our own life, that should not be an option. Chapter 2, the body. So if I go back to my journals from a few years ago, I will most definitely find a lot of New Year's resolution lists where I would write something like, next year, I want my body to look like this, or next year, I want my body to look like that person's body. And there is nothing wrong with having goals for your body. But the thing is, I was writing down standards that I was looking to achieve that were either just not physically possible for me to attain, or things that were very unhealthy for me to sustain. So a few things, basic things that I think are really important to keep in mind when it comes to being in that kind of a mindset that I used to be in are simple things such as, 1, you do not have to have a flat stomach 24/7, or even generally, depending on your genetics. 2, your body is going to change throughout the day. I mean, your body is even going to change generally, but it's also going to change throughout the day. And that's a very normal thing that is healthy. 3, weight gain does not immediately equal failure. 4, weight loss does not immediately equal success. 5, your health should always be your number one priority. Those things might sound like simple reminders, but for many, many years of my life, I was not in tune with those things at all. And that's where some people have said, but Alina, you are a slim and fit person. Like, what was your issue? If you say that, you either don't have social media or you've been on the right side of social media, because once you go down this thing and you see all of these ideas that are being put onto you of what your body is supposed to look like 24/7, is nothing to do with being fit anymore. It's almost like it creates these insecurities, and then it just goes so deep, and you think, well, I need to change this about myself. That's not okay about me. But these ideas are just so unrealistic. It's almost like anything you do, you will never manage to live up to that, or maybe very few people will manage to live up to that, because it's just not natural. Or I thought I had to live up to standards where I would basically have to devote my entire existence to keeping that up, because it was just not natural for my body to look like that. And if I didn't manage to keep that up, then that meant I was not doing enough, until eventually, when I just stopped all of that, I got to a point where I realized, okay, now I feel strong, I feel healthy, I feel balanced, I feel good in myself, and I still don't look like that thing that I had created for myself. And so maybe that's okay. Maybe that's not something that I have to change for myself. And then from there, I started to shift my focus to no longer ask myself to live up to these things, but rather ask myself questions such as, do I feel healthy? Do I feel strong? Do I feel balanced? Do I feel comfortable? Am I exercising in ways that feel good for my body and not just to try and get something? Am I allowing my body to change in ways that are natural without hating myself for it? Like, these are questions that I should have asked myself, and all of that other stuff I think should have not been on those lists. I was recently reading an article on the Kardashians and how, the last years, that body type that they have has kind of been like the ideal body type and something that everyone has been trying to chase. And now they have decided, actually, we are changing into a different look, let's say. And so now everyone's saying, well, we've changed our minds. This is not beautiful anymore. That's beautiful now. And I'm thinking, that's so messed up. Like, body shapes and body types should not be trends that we change in the way that we change fashion trends, where everything that doesn't fit into that one thing is like last season and something that needs to be hidden away or changed. Like, what is that? And I'm also wondering, like, what kind of message are we giving young kids with that, or even young girls especially, to say, you should always be chasing something that you are not, when in reality we all have different body types. We are all born with different body types. Like, actually our bone structures are different, and that's a beautiful, normal human thing. Something I will always promote, because I do believe in it, are things such as taking care of our health and exercising regularly, doing exercises that make our body feel good, drinking enough water, eating good food. I like doing things such as going to the ice bath or going to the sauna, like just taking care of your health and of your body and prioritizing that. That's something that I'm always going to stand behind. But I think that's a very different conversation to that other conversation. So, if there's someone out there whose New Year's resolution list consists of asking your body to live up to a standard that is either entirely not possible for you or just very unhealthy to sustain based on maybe what you've seen online or environments that you've been in or whatever, I have been there for many years, and I wish I could go back to those versions of myself and ask myself to stop hating a body that was doing so much for me just because it was not fitting into a stupid standard that was not even real. And I wish I would have used all of that time and energy and fueled it into things that actually brought me joy and happiness and health. And so, yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that. Chapter 3, the soul. So the soul can obviously mean a lot of different things, but for this video today, I wanted to focus on imagination, because I do think our imagination and our dreams and our visions for the future can also come from this deeper part of us. And obviously now with the new year, there's so much focus on the future and what we want to achieve for ourselves. We are making goals, we might be making vision boards, blah, 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 blah. And that's all amazing. But I think in that, we often lack a lot of imagination because we just don't dream big enough. I think for most people, our natural state is to underestimate ourselves and our capabilities. And so the goals that we set for ourselves are often not really representative of how far we could really go if we actually set our minds to it and really believe in ourselves. And so then we are just living a limited version of what our life could really be. And so I think to break out of that, we simply have to aim higher and dream bigger. And so when it comes to the next year, I'm also thinking, let's just dream bigger and aim higher than we would normally. Not in a way where you max out what you're capable of until you have a burnout, but just in a way where we are pushing out of what feels easy and what feels comfortable and what feels probable, and then seeing what lies on the other side of that. It's kind of like finding a balance between the rational mind and the imagination, because the rational mind is often filled with doubt and fears and underestimating ourselves and all of that. Meanwhile, our imagination does not connect to that. Our imagination just goes wherever it wants to go. That's why sometimes we think like, oh my God, I was imagining doing that, but I don't think I could ever do that. Meanwhile, we probably can. And so I think it's about finding a balance between those two, because the rational mind can also be a good tool that just grounds us in what is actually possible here on this earth, because we might be imagining how we are flying on a horse and that just can't work. So that's why I'm saying the balance between the rational mind and the imagination. But I think often we just forget the imagination entirely, and then that's why we don't aim high enough, because our rational mind can often only show us what we see based on our past, based on self-doubt, based on thoughts of other people, based on insecurities. Like our rational mind connects to all of that. And so we see only what we see from that, but that's not always what is possible, actually, what we are actually capable of. It is simply the only thing we see. And so that's why I think it's so valuable to connect with the imagination, because that can pull you out of that very constricted idea of what you are actually capable of. For me, when I was thinking about what I want to create for myself and in my life in the new year, I wrote down a list with things that I actually came up with. And then I realized most of the things that I wrote down came from this very rational part of my brain. And so I read through the list and I thought, that's probable. I can do that. But it didn't feel easy. Like there maybe was some self-doubt. I knew that I was gonna have to do or work hard to get that, but it felt probable. And I was like, you know what, if I aim for this, I'm probably not gonna be disappointed at the end of the year, because I can manage that. But that's the issue. Our rational mind is often connected to so much past and self-doubt and insecurities that going from that is often not representative of how far we can really go. And so then I decided, you know what, let me write down a separate list where I just really go with my imagination. And I say, if I get rid of all of the pressure of I need to achieve this then, and if I don't achieve it, then blah, blah, and I get rid of the self-doubt and the fears, and I just go with my imagination and I take away the pressure. What do I see for myself in the coming year, and what do I want to create for myself? And then I compared the two lists and I thought, oh my God, if I see all of that, I was aiming very, very low when it comes to what I thought I would be capable of in the coming year. So based on that list, I went back to my actual list and I decided to make changes and incorporate some of those things from the other list as well, to now when I read through my actual list, I'm thinking, oh shit, that is more than what I would normally aim for. And I definitely feel fear or doubt or, fear of disappointing myself, whatever. But I think there's a reason why people say if your dreams don't scare you, they are not big enough. Like, I do believe that. So for example, you might really love singing or songwriting, as a random example, and in your imagination you see yourself releasing your own music. That's something you imagine, that's something you dream about, and then that filters through your rational mind, and you just, focus on that more. And then you sit there and you say, well, next year I want to release one single, one of my own songs. Meanwhile, that might be aiming much, much lower than what you are actually capable of based on your circumstances. And so then connecting to this part of your imagination that really sees you releasing your own music, you could say, you know what, I'm going to aim out of what feels easy and probable, which is that one song in the entire year. And I'm going to say, I'm going to release 4 original songs next year, so one every 3 months. So I'm going to connect to this imagination part of mine as well, and then go from there. I think our rational minds can often be very, very tunnel vision, where we only see a few things. And as I said, those things are connected to so many things, such as past experiences, doubts, fears, whatever. And that's all we see. And then we think, well, because that's all I see, that means that's all I'm capable of. That's all that's possible for me. But that's not true. Like, that's just all we see. But in reality, that's not all there is. And so I think a really, really great way to push out of that is to connect with our imagination, and not in a greedy way, or not in a way where we are, completely delusional or ask ourselves to do things that are just not possible, but just in a way where we are pushing out of what feels probable, what feels easy, and pushing out of our comfort zone. Because again, there is also a reason why people say that the magic happens beyond the comfort zone. Like, there is a lot of truth to those ideas. All right, everyone, that is all that I wanted to share for today. I'm actually so happy that we made it through this episode without me actually losing my voice. I was really scared that was going to happen, but we did manage, and I feel okay, so that's a good thing. Anyways, that's all I wanted to share. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a beautiful morning, evening, or night. If you enjoyed the episode, please make sure to like the video, comment if you would like to, make sure that you're subscribed if you're not already, give reviews on the podcast. I mean, there are so many things that you can do, but it all supports me and helps me out a lot if you feel like it. And yeah, thank you so much. And I'm very much looking forward to connecting with you in my next episode.